Okay, there we go. Good morning, everybody. It's still morning, so we're still good. All right, so it is 11:35. We'll be calling this meeting to order. How do we handle the roll call? Sign-in sheet, okay. The sign-in sheet will be a roll call. Okay, here we go. So the sign-in sheet will be a roll call, so make sure that if you're on the committee that you have signed in officially. And just for housekeeping, when we go in executive session, only those members, and it's typically those individuals that are on the list, can only stay in executive session. Everybody else would have to leave, and then you can wait, and then when we call the meeting back into order, then you can come back for the adjournment, essentially. So, okay, so with that being said, I want to welcome everybody back to a new school year. We have a couple weeks that we're going to get the school started. Teachers actually start on Monday. We did have a new teacher orientation this morning. We welcome back a lot of teachers. Very, very happy to say. Also, probably about 80%, right, Vicki? About 80% were UISD graduates or UISD attended individuals, so that's a really good sign for our community. And again, I'm sure you've already heard that UISD was voted the best place to work in our community. So we gotta make sure that we continue to tout that in our community, make sure that we get that. In addition to the board really supporting all of us, or all the employees that are here, with a generous pay raise last week. So we're very fortunate and blessed to have that as well. So with that being said, I'm gonna introduce Ruben. He'll get everybody started, but then he'll also introduce everybody in our safety team. Ruben.
Yes. So good morning again, everybody. My name is Ruben Ayala. I'm the Safety and Crisis Response Manager. I want to do a quick introduction of all our people in our department. So we have, first, Mr. Garza. We have Ms. Barrera, our Executive Director. We have Dr. Linda Garza, Lead Psychologist. We have Elvira Salinas, our LPC, or our Behavior Threat Assessment Specialist. We have Emma Cavazos. We have Mr. Garza just joining us this year, and Oscar Guerrero. He's the one who probably emailed you. So just quickly to go over the School Safety Security Committee to the greatest extent practicable. These are the people that are included. We've called roll, so committee members, Sex Education Code, chapter section 37.109. And so the first item that we're having today is our informational item. So what I'd like to do at this time is I'd like to introduce Crime Stoppers of Houston, Safe Schools Institute, and they will be presenting on social media and mental health.
Thank you,
Ernesto will be here, will be presenting pretty well.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Easy. Hello. How are we? Good. I really can't express enough how excited I am to be here with you today. My name is Ernesto Reyes. I'm visiting today from Crime Stoppers of Houston. I know, elephant in the room, some guy, some stranger from Houston. I'm actually the statewide manager for our Safe School Institute. So it's a program that we have at Crime Stoppers of Houston, and essentially it's a one-stop shop for all things school safety. School safety. Essentially what I do is trainings and presentations, just like this one, for students, parents, school staff, community members, of course in Houston, but actually all over Texas. We do trainings just like this one on the topic that we're going to talk about, but we do offer many other kinds of options as well. If you do have any questions, thoughts, ideas, I'd love to keep in contact with you. This is actually my digital business card. Digital business card. So it's really as simple as taking out your phone, pointing your camera at that QR code, and you can actually find all the different ways to stay in contact, all the social media channels, all the things. But I will say, I have regular old business cards as well. So best of both worlds. Part of the reason I'm so excited to be here with you today is because, like I mentioned, I get to do presentations and trainings just like this one all over Texas. And truly that has only been possible because of the friends, the partners, the sponsors of our Safe School Institute. Big names, not just in Houston, but all over the state, all over the country. And they care about your safety and the safety of our students and our communities just as much as I do, just as much as Crime Stoppers does. Quite simply, our mission at Crime Stoppers, no matter where the location is to help solve and prevent crime. And to make that happen, it is more than just one organization, it's more than just one phone number, it's more than just one person. It takes a community. So to make this mission happen, we of course work with our friends in the criminal justice system, our media partners, and citizens, community members, just like you. One resource that we often talk about, no matter where we are in Texas, one resource that anyone can use to help make this mission happen is called the Crime Stoppers tip line. Right? Quite simply, the Crime Stoppers tip line is an anonymous way that anyone can use to report crime. What makes it special is that depending on the outcome of the information that someone shares, if it leads to an arrest or to just some type of disciplinary action, that person that shared the information in the first place, the tipster, could get a cash reward. And the best part is that you can stay completely anonymous. When we do work with a campus, a community that isn't in the Houston area, we can talk about Crime Stoppers because we share the same mission. This is one of the ways that we can talk about it. This is one way that you can get in contact with the nearest Crime Stoppers to you that is relevant to the information that you're sharing. It's really as simple as dialing **TIPS. You dial that into any mobile device, it connects you to the closest Crime Stoppers to you. All of it monitored by law enforcement, of course, and available 24/7. So if someone really is sharing critical information, it's going to someone that can do something with it right now, 24 hours a day. When I talk about the Crime Stoppers tip line, I love and most importantly have to emphasize that it is truly anonymous. This part is a game changer when it comes to students especially. They're the eyes and ears of our campuses and in our community as well. So when someone does decide to share information to the Crime Stoppers tip line, we call that person a tipster. And we don't ask tipsters what their name is, or a phone number, or an email. We don't ask where you live. We don't ask for any personal identifying information. Nothing. What we do is give that tipster a special code, and that code is how we identify you. We also give that tipster a date to call us back. And once that happens, once this person does call back or visit an app or go back on the website, whoever it is they shared the information in the first place, if it turns out that the information they shared led to an arrest or to some type of disciplinary action on a school campus, we give them details on how to go and get their cash reward. Completely anonymous, 24/7, free, and community built, community funded. The goal. We hope that by talking about the Crime Stoppers tip line, an anonymous way that anyone can use to report crime, and by having some of the information that we're going to talk about in today's session, that it inspires anyone and everyone to be the change that they want to see to help keep their school safe, their home safe, their neighborhood safe. So useful, especially in our conversation this afternoon, because we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to get a peek into the wild world of the internet. We're going to talk a little bit about mental health, and we'll talk about social media, and about how interconnected these two topics are than most people realize. A little bit of a tall order, but trust me, it's going to blaze by. We'll talk about mental health, we'll talk about social media, some general trends that we see. Most importantly though, I want to challenge you to reconsider what the student experience is, what the user experience is, because that really defines what you could potentially be exposed to. To start us off, mental health. Quite simply, it is how someone is thinking, acting, or feeling. How someone is thinking, acting, or feeling. That's as simple as it has to be when we're just starting or having conversations around mental health. How someone is thinking, acting, or feeling, that's something that anyone can contribute to a conversation about. And when we think about the internet, this can complicate mental health. Because online, we could be exposed to content that is potentially concerning or inappropriate or just scary. And those kinds of things can cause challenges to how someone is thinking, acting, or feeling in that moment. What often happens is our screen time might be a little longer than we might realize. The average amount of time that a US teen spends online for entertainment is about 7.5 to 8 hours a day. So I challenge you, what's your screen time look like? It's much more than just what your phone tells you, I promise. All that time looking at a screen on your computer, I know the moment you open that email and that wave of emotion hits you, a challenge to how you're feeling. I know that. Some other ways that being on the internet can challenge how you're thinking, acting, and feeling. Just simple comparisons. How I look, how someone else looks. How I get around. Do I have a car? What my family looks like. Where I go to school, where I live. You right now could find your most favorite movie star, your most favorite celebrity, and compare what they're doing to you. This is why we see increased trends with increased screen time and increased reported feelings of depression, loneliness, and anxiety. This is critical in this conversation, especially for our students, because the truth is that our brains are growing all the way up into our mid-20s. All the way up to our mid-20s. Two parts of our brain that's important here that are developing is our limbic system and our prefrontal cortex. Big words, I know. But to keep it simple, this is the part of the brain, front part of the brain, that's important when we are making decisions. Important parts of the brain that matter when we're setting goals. How someone is motivated. They control the parts of urges, hunger, how we handle stress, how we handle pressure. And what we do know is that when someone is having challenges to how they're thinking, acting, or feeling, this causes different kinds of brain chemicals to fluctuate in the brain. And if these kinds of challenges are happening to someone whose brain is still developing, it could potentially lead to some lifelong challenges for that person. Tying this back to the internet. Sometimes it is so incredible to think about how quickly this timeline has changed. Talking iPhone 1. iPhone 1. Released 2007, that's really the first smartphone. If you had an iPhone 1, you know that it is very different to the iPhones of today. Today, our smartphones are literally miniature computers. Emails, games, messages, emails, FaceTimes, so many different ways that we can interact with someone, and lots of content and applications that are designed to keep our attention for as long as possible. 2021, about 96% of teens and young adults say that they own a smartphone. The user experience is important in this conversation, but these devices have lots of colors, lots of notifications, lots of sounds, lots of images, lots of updates, and all those things are designed to get you interested in going back to those platforms over and over and over again. Where it's very prevalent is social media. Social media, all those notifications, they're designed to keep you interested. And about 90% of teens ages 13 to 17 say they have used social media before. Okay, this is where I want to challenge what you think about when you hear the word social media. So much more than just an app that we can download today. So many more ways to be social today than there have ever been ever before. Other options. YouTube. YouTube is a social platform. Comment sections. You can actually watch live videos in real time and talk to other people who are watching the same video in real time. Comment sections in general. If you like cooking, I guarantee this online recipe that you're looking at has a comment section at the very bottom. When you're going to buy something on the internet, one of the first places we go and check the reviews. We want to know what other people have to say about this thing. Those are all different kinds of ways that we are social with other people. But for our apps, here we're looking at data. This is pre-pandemic, so this goes up to 2020. But some of these trends are still true today. Our top 3 most popular platforms. We're looking at top favorite social media platforms of teens. Top 3, the Snapchat, the TikTok, the Instagram. And what isn't so surprising is that these 3 platforms actually share a lot of common features. Lots of them are designed to be very interesting. Some of them do have different kinds of ways that you can direct message with other users in these platforms as well. For Snapchat in particular, I'll say the word, disappearing content. You can send a message to someone else, and it disappears. But on other platforms, it may not disappear, it just may be more private. Many social media platforms today have built-in direct messaging platforms. And in some way, those top 3 platforms have disappearing content as well. Great example I think of is TikTok. So much happening on that platform, you may find one video you really enjoy, but after scrolling for another couple hours, another couple 30 minutes, who knows, it may be incredibly difficult to go back and find that one video that you really enjoyed just a little bit ago. Challenging what our perceptions are when we think of social media, and what we think of disappearing content. Here, I have some newer data. This study, we're looking at the percentage of US teens who say they have ever used one of the following platforms. Here we're looking at 2 different surveys conducted 2 different time frames. So it's the same question. Information is showing us the percentage of teens that say they have ever used one of these following platforms. The light blue one is when this question was asked in 2014 to 2015. The darker blue is when it was asked in 2022. What I want you to notice, not every platform has both colors on it. In just that little bit of time frame, we had a whole bunch of new apps that popped up. And those apps bring new innovations to how they target users, what they do with user data, and how they market and try to keep our attention. What I want you to also notice is what number 1 is. YouTube. YouTube, 95% of teens say they have used YouTube before. We have a quick video that will talk a little bit more about these trends in social media's app design and how they're more connected than you might think. Let's take a look.
There has been a gigantic increase in depression and anxiety for American teenagers, which began right around between 2011 and 2013. The number of teenage girls out of 100,000 in this country who were admitted to a hospital every year because they cut themselves or otherwise harmed themselves. That number was pretty stable until around 2010, 2011, and then it begins going way up. It's up 62% for older teen girls. It's up 189% for the preteen girls. That's nearly triple. Even more horrifying, we see the same pattern with suicide. The older teen girls, 15 to 19 years old, they're up 70% compared to the first decade of the century. The preteen girls, who have very low rates to begin with, they are up 151%. And that pattern points to social media. Gen Z, the kids born after 1996 or so, those kids are the first generation in history that got on social media in middle school. How do they spend their time? They come home from school and they're on their devices. A whole generation is more anxious, more fragile, more depressed. They're much less comfortable taking risks. The rates at which they get driver's licenses have been dropping. The number who have ever gone out on a date or had any kind of romantic interaction is dropping rapidly. This is a real change in generation. And remember, for every one of these, for every hospital admission, there's a family that is traumatized and horrified. My God, what is happening to our kids?
What happens when we have a student who is struggling with how they're thinking, acting, and feeling? Well, if they never get the help that they deserve, they just turn into adults who are still struggling with those same challenges. Depression is a leading cause of disability in the United States among people aged 15 to 44. When someone is experiencing depression, prolonged feelings of sadness, hopelessness, for an extended period of time, we know that that changes how this person's brain is processing information. Their ability to focus, their ability to stay motivated on task, on a goal. ADHD, behavioral problems, anxiety, and depression are the most diagnosed disorders in children. But as we know, there are barriers to getting mental health treatment and medical care in general, depending on the community. So these are challenges, these are big conversations, and there are huge stigmas around talking about how we are actually feeling when we are struggling with something. But sometimes on the internet, it can feel like all of the negatives, all the concerns, all the dangers outweigh the positives. I have to be clear, I'm not here to ruin anything. I'm absolutely not here to ruin anything. I love the internet. I'll be the first to raise my hand and say, I use the internet every single day. There's so much content that can be used to learn something new, learn a new language, to network. If you really care about a particular topic, you can use the internet to engage and get others excited along with you. Not to mention, we can stay connected with family and friends in new ways that we've ever been able to do before. We're way past just writing a letter to someone. We're way past just picking up a phone and hearing their voice. Right now, we can pick up a phone and video chat for anyone in the world instantly. It's amazing. Along with that, we have to address the negatives. Because with all of these shared platforms, we see that internet monsters, predators, and criminals are using the same platforms that we are. We see cyberbullying, hate speech. What we never want is for students or a user in general to become desensitized to content that is inappropriate, or that is illegal in the first place. We want to encourage anyone and everyone to be the change, to do something different. When you see that something isn't right, let's do something about it. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. So, one of the partners here at Crime Stoppers of Houston is BARC. It's a third-party monitoring service. If you've never heard about it, I encourage you, check it out. How it works, it is essentially a service that anyone can sign up for. It is a paid service, but you sign up for the service, you can actually connect an electronic device to it. What it does is it monitors all the content that is happening on that device. To do this, it's got to analyze billions of messages, emails, phone activity, user data. But when it does find something that is concerning or inappropriate, what it can do is it can take a screenshot of that content and send it to the primary holder of the account, wherever the person is. And along with that, it can tell you a little more context on why this is so concerning in the first place and how you can have a conversation about it. I bring this up because every year, BARC releases a case study right? They're analyzing all this user data, all this information, messages and such. And every year they release a case study showing general trends. Here we're looking at just a small portion of that case study. Interesting notes I want to point out. Sexual content. 62% of tweens, 82% of teens had encountered nudity or content of a sexual nature. Self-harm, suicide. About 35% of tweens and 64% of teens were involved in a self-harm or suicidal situation. Bullying. 71.2% of tweens and 83.3% of teens experienced bullying as a bully, a victim, or a witness. Even more interesting, they can actually take and flag particular apps and associate them with general kinds of concerning trends. So here we're looking at a couple different options. Top 5 apps flagged for severe suicidal ideation, top 5 apps flagged for depression, and for body image concerns. Just knowing this information, just at face value, maybe it's an app that you have never heard of before. Right? Just take away that it's flagged or associated with any kind of topic. Maybe you've never heard of it before. That's the kind of conversation that can potentially be a life-saving. One that is most commonly not, one that most community members are familiar with is Discord. Discord, it's a different kind of social media platform. Really, it was designed as a way for gamers, video gamers, to be able to message and communicate with other gamers. Sometimes the video game that you're playing has a way to communicate with others directly in that game. But Discord is kind of an outside way that you can still talk to other gamers. Discord, Kik is a different kind of app. You can sign up for it, and it actually gives you kind of a new generated phone number that you can use to go and text other people or have phone calls with other people. Pretty interesting. It's been around for a long time, and very recently, past couple of years, it's made a comeback. Pretty surprising. Again, we're taking a small peek. So much more in this case study. I invite you to check it out. Before we finish up, we'll talk a little bit more about the criminals, right? The persons who are on our favorite sites, on our favorite games, and represent our good. When these criminals, when these internet monsters are looking for someone to victimize, typically they're looking for someone who has a vulnerability. But they want to find someone with some sort of need that they can fulfill. These are some ways that someone can be vulnerable. I moved schools, and I don't see my favorite teacher anymore. And I feel alone. My dog died, and I'm very sad. My parents don't understand me. All they do is yell and scream. I need somebody else to talk to. If someone's having challenges with some sort of relationship, some kind of challenges at home, some kind of change in their life, or I'm going to add, just boredom, they may be more likely to have a new conversation with someone that they don't know. They might be more likely to download one of those thousands of friend-making apps available right now in the App Store. If you've never done it, I challenge you. Go into the App Store, go into your Google Play Store, whatever you have, and type in Make New Friends. You'll find thousands of apps, all free, and most of them don't actually have any sort of system to verify the age of the person who is signing up to use those platforms. Again, so many different ways that we can communicate with others, make new friends, have conversations. And talking about the internet, grooming is one of the most common ways that internet monsters use when they are looking to victimize or capitalize on a person. Grooming, quite simply, it is when someone goes out of their way to form some kind of bond, some kind of relationship with another person. These are emotionally significant relationships, and they're all done for a purpose. This groomer, the person that does this, they are not just one type of person. This action did not exist post-internet. Grooming behavior happened before the internet, and was primarily done in person. But now, with impersonation and how easy it is to lie about our identity, not be truthful about what our intentions are with someone, it has never been easier to start a conversation, build trust with someone, and capitalize for this person. Here we're looking at a quick overview of the grooming process. These things can go out of order, they can switch places, and they can take as long as they need to, because the grooming relationship is built on trust. This all starts with this groomer trying to identify their target. They're looking for someone with a vulnerability. So if my target feels alone, they feel isolated, and they just need someone to talk to, this groomer can say all the right things they need to in order to pose as that person, fulfilling a need that this person has. If our victim needs financial support, our groomer, they can offer that support. Maybe they offer child care and use that child care against this victim in order to get them to do other things. All this is done up to a point to where this groomer and their target and that relationship is the most important thing that matters. At a certain point, isolation happens, and the goal there is to isolate this victim from those friends and family members. And to do that, it can be as simple as convincing someone to do things that they just wouldn't normally do. Sneak out of the house, attend a party, try a drug, change how they're dressing, changing speech patterns, anything to create a wedge between this target and those friends and family members. And then it's at this point where our groomer can capitalize and get what they want. In situations where this whole process happens online and our two persons have never actually met in person, that one moment where they do meet in person, it can turn into a kidnapping situation. It can be an incident where some kind of assault, some kind of sexual assault happens. All done for a purpose. Truth be told, this presentation is actually one that we would facilitate for a parent audience. Today it's been tailored just a little bit for you all here. But when we do talk about safety conversations and internet, especially for parents, for educators, we do talk about some of the laws that I think everyone should be aware of if you're going to use the internet. Big parts of this conversation is the word privacy. Privacy in the internet. There's a big difference between your personal privacy and consumer privacy. Consumer privacy is different because we're talking about the kind of information that social media companies collect on you when you use their service. So things like places you go, where you live, right? If you use Google Maps, if you go to the same place every single night, it's estimating, it's guessing that that's probably where you live. It's designed to pick up on these big kinds of trends. And COPPA laws are very specific because here, as the name implies, we're talking about the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. There are specific federal laws that are supposed to put some restrictions on when consumer privacy can take place, or when the details around that. For a lot of the big platforms we've been talking about today, you have to be 13 years old to sign up for a social media account. And that's because of these laws. That's the age at which these laws say that is when the social media companies can start this kind of data collection. And again, it can complicate things because the social media platform is not based in the United States. Say they're based in China, for example. They may follow a different set of laws on when this user data can start to be collected. Other important things before I say goodbye. Threats, impersonation, and David's Law. I think these are great topics of conversations. With threats, big emphasis that we can be arrested for for doing something, for saying something, even if you don't actually follow through with those threats. For schools, big conversations are on terroristic threats. I'm familiar with situations where someone is getting arrested for terroristic threats because they make a false 911 report on somebody else who's in the school with them that day. They make a call, they say this person has a weapon. Law enforcement shows up, they interrupt the school day, they search, they don't find anything. The person that made that false report now looking at some big trouble. Other more common things, someone goes on Snapchat, on social media, they take a picture with a weapon, they write, don't come to school tomorrow, or else, and it just causes a sense of panic, fear, impersonation, pretending to be somebody else. Very familiar with a situation where students made fake social media profiles of their campus administrators, and then use those fake social media accounts to go and spread inappropriate information with other classmates. We can be arrested for impersonation. It just depends on who we are pretending to be, what kinds of things we are saying. David's Law. These are the anti-bullying laws here in Texas. With David's Law, there's so many more things that we deserve time to talk about, but that's the beauty of this conversation. Is to get us interested, get us started, keep this conversation going. Not every law in the not every state in the United States has anti-bullying laws that specifically include cyberbullying, believe it or not. Texas is one of those states. Big things that I emphasize with David's Law is that someone can be arrested for encouraging, in other words, suicide rating another person. We get in big trouble for encouraging someone else to die by suicide. Let's see, last up, some quick reminders. I know we talked about lots of things, lots of information, lots of data, lots of names, apps, numbers, but to tie this back in, the user experience is one of the most important things to consider in this conversation. If you don't play video games, if your student doesn't play video games, there are risks of meeting an online predator on a video game console is very low. I'll challenge that too. There are many ways to play a video game. It's not just the Xboxes and the PlayStations. We can play mobile games and still have the ability to talk to others. Anyone can struggle with either thinking, acting, or feeling. So it's okay to not be okay. Communication can be critical in preventing victimization. Things that we can talk about with our students, we can talk about resiliency. Things don't always go how we hope they are. But we can talk about how we can do better next time. We can talk about healthy ways to relieve all that stress, that frustration that we have. We can help find new art forms to express all those emotions. And above all, seek help, seek some counseling. You have no idea where or what to say to start the conversation. There are so many resources available free online that can help point us in the right direction. Everyone, I really can't thank you enough for your time, for your energy, for your focus, most importantly. I'm going to hang around in case you do have any questions, any thoughts, ideas, but thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes.
I've heard of the BARK app.
Yeah.
Is that being utilized by any school districts in the Houston area?
It is. It is. There we go.
BARK, thank you. Yes, BARK is being utilized by some school districts. I know some more private schools in the Houston area. And the data that we looked at, the case study, that doesn't include school district data for privacy reasons. So, yes, to answer your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
What are the reporting requirements for, so they take an actual snapshot of the entire phone, include images and whatnot?
Correct.
So images that come in under innocent instances, what are the requirements to, that any teams meeting to send, maybe back and forth? What are the requirements for law enforcement? Do they automatically report, do they have parents? school district? Or,
You're talking BARC?
yes.
BARC. It depends on the content and especially who he accounts with. If it's with a school district, typically the district works those details with BARC and they set up specific guidelines and all the account details. But yeah, I mean, if it's an internet service, they do have responsibility to report child exploitation. Absolutely. So much of it just depends on the conversation. I've talked to some parents where content is flagged for substance use. And the whole conversation is about a parent who is talking to their teen to go pick them up some Advil or something small. But with each kind of report that it flags, it shows you an actual snapshot. So it gives you all the context to make the decision of, well, this is something serious or this is just what we're reporting.
I think ultimately, you have to sign up.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, the district court participates, we have to get consent from all the individual students and their parents to sign up.
Right, no, but my question is, once you,
Yes.
at the fact,
Yes.
what do you do?
Yeah, we would have an obligation to report. I mean, that's just like anything else. If we hear any type of situation where, if there's harm, potential harm, we have an obligation. I would see probably the reluctance from parents and from students to sign up voluntarily. I think these apps, in my mind, are for individual families to decide so that the parent can get the content from their families, from their students, right?
Those are big conversation points that I hear from parents. There tends to be two sides. It's either full acceptance of monitoring tools such as BARC, where they see everything that's happening on the device, or there's the decision that they don't like that option. They would rather stick to having open dialogue and open conversations. And so it just depends on the family.
I mean, I think we should present it. I know we have a family health and safety conference on Friday, and I think we should present it to our parents to let them know this is an option for you. I'm sure there's other apps actually. And again, it's a conversation within a family unit to be able to monitor. I mean, I know my wife would literally grab the phone with my kids and go over their social media. That was an individual choice, right? But this actually helps you, I think, in a manner that when you're not seeing what they're doing, it actually reports back to you. So that's neat. I'm sure a lot of kids won't like it, when we really think about it, but it's at least another tool. I do want to emphasize a lot of great information, especially the social emotional part of it. We did add over the summer a behavioral portion of our safety and crisis management, just to kind of give you a little concept from a mechanic standpoint of how everything worked. Last year, we took over essentially mid-year, right? So the way it worked is we have a very small group of individuals that gets the initial report of any type of threat that comes in. And that group, that includes the chief of police, the superintendent, myself, Ms. Morales, and Ruben Ayala. I think that's pretty much it. And so we determined the initial threat, the immediate threat, right? Usually, when there's a case of a weapon being discussed, the chief makes a decision to go ahead and make a home visit, right? And let me tell you, we're going to standardize in our language because we use the word behavioral threat as a universal language. I mean, even the police department calls it a behavioral threat assessment when it's a home visit. That's actually what's happening. And typically, what ends up happening is we have to get the consent of the homeowner or the parent in this case to be able to search, and we only search the room of the individual, right? Where it's not a entire home search, right? And so 90% of the time we get consent, which is great. Obviously, those other percentages gives us cause for concern, and so we flag that, right? If there's no imminent threat, then it goes to a second phase, right? Which is the behavioral threat, the threat assessment of monitoring the student themselves. So we did have the case last year, United High School, and what we ended up doing is we asked some parents to come in, and we had like a focus group. I guess that's the only way to say it. We had some parents come in, and we talked about, okay, how did we do as far as letting people know our communication, the district perspective? And so some parents weren't happy. It took a while for us to get the information out. Obviously, our priority is identifying those individuals that have been identified as the actual threat, right? So if it's a list of students, we're going to contact those families immediately. If there's other individuals involved, well, they're the secondary level of notification. So yes, there's going to be a lag of information. So that was the biggest complaint. But I will share with you that one of the parents that was there was very concerned about what we were doing for the student that actually made the threat, right? And so that this year, coming into this year, wants to be a focus for us, is that we're not leaving them behind, right? We're making sure that we're following up on that. And I think that long-term is gonna benefit the district. So last year, it was primarily reactive, right? We were getting the threat, we're identifying them, discipline, all the issues that go with that, and then pretty much the campuses were left to making sure that they were monitoring. Well, now we have a department that's gonna be focused on monitoring that and making sure that they're getting the help that they need and so forth. In addition to that, the long-term plan is we wanna be proactive and start trying to identify those students before they act out, before they get to the point where we have some kind of a threat that we have to react to. So that's our long-term goal. It's baby steps. I will share with you that UISD is light years ahead of everybody else. Let's remember that, okay? There's a lot of school districts that are just starting what we're talking about. And we're already on the second phase of what we're doing. So that's where Dr. Gatza and Elvira are gonna be in charge of that threat assessment. And I'm using the word generically, but that's really the treatment and the care of these students, and then trying to figure out a plan to be proactive and identifying them before we actually have a threat. So we're on the right track. I think that's really important for everybody to know.
I just wanted to again thank Ernesto for coming all the way down here and providing this information. And so just to kind of give you an idea of what we're trying to do with these committee meetings is not only just, we have to do the required, our closed sessions where we're going to approve things and we're going to work with our community and our stakeholders to make decisions for the district, but also give it some value for you as well. And so any information that we can bring in, we want to share with you all so that you can go out now to whether your agencies or your community and share this information that you learned here with us. So we're trying to also educate, and so as many people as we can touch in whatever form or fashion we can do that, that's what we're trying to do. But now to the business side, it is 12:23, and at this moment we will go into closed session. The committee will adjourn its closed session pursuant to Texas Education Code 37.109D and the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.076 and 551.089. At this time, please, if you'd like to grab some food, but if you are not a committee member, you are asked to leave the area. It is in closed. We are now in closed session. Thank you.
Well, thank everybody on behalf of United for being time on your schedule. I think it's important that we put together a little community to look at the safety not only of our students at UISD, but our staff. Mr. Gatza was announcing earlier, we're very fortunate we have a good team with safety. When it comes to all the protocols, so forth, what we have in place for our campus, for our buildings, Lara said directly about it. Mr. Gatza will be helping us as well. We've also added the mental health part of it. So that's important, something that we're stepping up to the plate, something that I've seen that a lot of districts not have. We're the first district in the state of Texas that put a peace officer in every campus. Now we have a department of mental health, so that's what Elvira will handle all the mental health aspect of it. I think it's important that we have somebody that's going to follow through with the treatment, which that's what we're saying. So the mental health will be the other side. And of course, we just got to work together. And your principals that are here, I know not about phones. I mean, that's
that's something we gotta take care of. I mean, that's a big part of our safety. We are looking at the attic funds that we're investing, how much, Mike,
It is an expensive proposition, but it's the law. Like, we have no choice. We have to do it, and we're probably looking at about $700,000. However, we do have a plan. I'm always a very creative finance guy, so we're gonna look at some grant money that we've already received, about $100,000, and then work with the company to not bill us until the state gives us the money in October. So I think they're willing to work with us, which is great at the end of the day, and we're gonna get it done. Bottom line, we're gonna get it done. We have a lot of major investments coming up. We have weapon detection systems that are coming online. That's already gonna be placed on order, and then we're hoping to order these panic devices this week. It's gonna take a while for installation, so we feel that rollout will be January of 2024, where every single employee will have one, and it will track wherever you're at, within the school system, within the school district. You go a certain distance away and it's no longer active, in other words. So if I'm here, it'll identify that I'm here in this room. If I'm at Colonel Santos Elementary, room 1, it'll identify my guest that's in room 1 at Colonel Santos. So it's a really good tool. It's gonna be really good.
we're excited about that, and again, the state, they pretty much mandate, we gotta have these, but we're not gonna fund it, because we're all gonna get some money.
Yes, sir.
Like a lot of things that the state does for us, but on behalf of the 41,000 students and almost over 6,000 employees, thank you for your time this afternoon. And again, we're gonna keep modifying what we have in place to make it better for safety for everyone. Okay, thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
So at this time, we are asking for a recommendation of approval to present to the board of the 2020-2023 Safety and Security Audit Results. Our direction. We have a motion. We have a second. We have a second. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? No opposition. Thank you very much. At this time, we do have public comments. We have public comments.
Yes, we do have one public comment by Ms. Clarissa Fraga on safety and security.
We can go to you. We can go to you, ma'am.
Great presentation. Good morning. Greetings, I'm here today as a concerned parent, a youth advocate, and as an assistant and member of Mikey's Purpose, a drug overdose awareness and prevention nonprofit organization. Earlier today, my colleagues and the founder of Mikey's Purpose were in attendance with city officials at the Laredo Fire Department to proclaim the entire month of August as Drug Overdose Awareness Month. As I watched last night's news, I was baffled at the information presented in reference to moving vape shops further away from schools, as if insinuating that kids all over the city are leaving campus to purchase vapes and then returning to school with them. If that was the case, then the real problem at hand is that you are actually allowing those items to enter campuses, which would indicate a lack of safety and security, a lack of being proactive. Children are not going out of their way to enter these shops and purchasing these products. Now, if that was the case, then there's a lack of regulation somewhere and a lack of investigation by someone, as children should not have the legal right to make such purchase. The real issue at hand is kids being presented with these products at school, the bus stop, school sporting events. You're not investing time ensuring you stop these dangerous products and drugs from infiltrating your schools. Why? Here's what I and other parents have been told by administrators at the campuses. We don't have enough personnel. We have too many points of entries. There's too many students to hold back. There's not enough time. I've spoken to a board member who attentively listened to my concerns. I went in person and requested to speak to the superintendent, but was denied a meeting. I refused to leave, so then I was directed to Ms. Emalesa, who also listened to my concerns. But that's all that was done. They simply listened. Nothing was followed through. I spoke to Mr. Mike Garza, who promised me a seat at the safety committee, promised me a meeting, yet failed to keep his word and these situations never took place. I have pertinent information that I feel is necessary for you to listen to. So I would like to formally and publicly ask that as an advocate for our youth, you hold a meeting with me. Through my own investigations, I have found that what the district truly engages in is wrongfully criminalizing the innocent, a form of adult bullying in my opinion, while the real culprits continue to roam the halls. A school system was never established as a means to criminalize our children. Its purpose is merely to educate, and yet we wonder why our children are so distraught. I have found that the systems you have in place, such as the STEP Academy, the Youth First, and the ROOPS program, are conducted in such manner that proves you're reactive, as you had mentioned, rather than proactive. It proves your safety and security protocols are extremely ineffective and have led to drug use and overdose in our community, with well over 40, and the youngest victim only 15 years of age. You see, you say, see something, say something, do something. But what have you done to the children who do turn in the very babes you don't want in our campus? You arrest them simply because they are in possession. But you say, see something, do something. You charge them with felonies, you send them to juvie, you disrupt their education, you send them onto a traumatic experience whereby they must go on a mentally exhausting journey that makes them start second-guessing school, second-guessing their worth, and they begin to have trust issues with the very adults who are supposed to protect them. May I continue?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And just announcing for September 12th, 2023, we have our next scheduled meeting. Just plan for a little bit more time because we're going to be going over the protocols and the, what was the other item? The EOP. And then also on Friday, we're having our safety and health and safety conference on Friday from 8 to 12. It's going to be here at the SAC. So we have a panel discussion at the very beginning, and then we're going to have SAC room 1 and 2, and hopefully the AC will be one.
We changed it to all take place at the auditorium.
All take place at the auditorium. Got it. So I know we're having some AC issues in one of our rooms. So we're going to be having sessions every hour to discuss whether it's vaping or safety and security or any of the other items. So please encourage everybody else to participate in that process. So thank you very much. And I guess we need a motion to adjourn. No, we don't need, all right, then we're adjourned. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.